Listen up, bass fishermen. This is the one hook that you need that you may not be using, and I'm going to explain it to you. I'm going to show you one little tweak that I do to this thing that, you know, that's a little different than when it comes out of the package, that I think makes it even better. But this is the Gamakatsu G Finesse. It's the hybrid worm hook. Now, it's been around for a number of years, and I've progressively started using it more and more and more in my bass fishing. I mean, this is straight from my boat. I've got every size from 1/0 to 6/0, which is actually massive. And I'm gonna kind of walk you through a couple different applications where I use this hook and where it is like the go-to money hook for me. You know, like first and foremost, it is just cash money on a Carolina rig. You know, if you're gonna be throwing a Carolina rig and you're gonna have that offset style hook, I'm gonna just, you know, get a good up close shot of that right there. You can see kind of, you know, the layout of the hook. Just, you know, to give you a little quick overview on it before we get into it, it's not made from the conventional metal that all the other Gamakatsu hooks and pretty much most all of the other hooks on the market are made from. That's a certain type of alloy, but this alloy is what they call tournament grade wire. It is a lighter material, but it is a touch more brittle. But don't expect this hook to be bent out and broke. It's not. I've never done that with a single fish ever. But the other part is that it's got this nano coating on it that a lot of the G Finesse hooks have. There are some other hooks on the market, like the Zo wire is a similar type of wire, and it also has that similar coating to the Zo wire is I think the owner, but I'm not as familiar with those hooks. But the hybrid worm hook, and then also that nano coating is what I was talking about. It is a smooth, slick, it's kind of that grayish look that you can see on there, but that coating is super, super smooth, super slick. So we're talking about hook penetration. You know, you're gonna have that hook, it's gotta penetrate through whatever worm you're fishing it on, and then go through and into the fish's mouth. So that smoother material helps you get that hook penetrated into the fish's mouth, into that big old bass, smallmouth, largemouth, spotted bass, whatever kind of bass you're going to be fishing, catching. But Carolina rig, a lot of Texas rig applications, not all. This is not the hook that I'm using for flipping. That is not the hook. But I just brought some other baits that I do fish it on. This is a Zoom Fluke. I throw that Zoom Fluke with the 4/0. You know, I've just kind of taken and putting a whole bunch of hooks in each of these packages, like I said, because this is what I'm fishing with on tour, these ones right here. And I've also made my little tweak, which I'll show you here in just a second. But that right there is the 4/0. That's what I use in the Zoom Fluke. Does great. You know, with like a baby D-bomb or something like that. I'll probably use a 3/0. A 3/0 is a pretty good size hook. That's what this is right here. And then like the quiver 6.5, I usually use that 3/0. I use a 2/0 usually on the 4.5 inch quiver. Just it's a little smaller. Sometimes I'll downgrade to that if I'm fishing especially for smallmouth or spotted bass with a Carolina rig. I'll drop down to that number 2 or that 2/0. You know, if I got that little baby destroyer, which is kind of my money bait on a Carolina rig, and I'll use that 4/0, just like with the Fluke when I'm fishing a stick bait like a Cinco or 48, something like that. So just kind of give you some general uses of where this hybrid worm hook is really good. Now, Mike McClellan is the one that really kind of came up with the concept and got Gamakatsu to make it. And he uses it for flipping. He loves it for flipping. I've used it for flipping. I've never had any problems with it, but I like my heavy cover worm hooks a little bit better. But let me show you the little tweak. Now you get this, and as perfect as the hook is, it is not what I would consider dead on perfect. Now I'm going to show you the difference of, this is one brand new out of the package, and let me find a 3/0 that's comparable sized. and I'll show you the difference. The difference is in the Z bend. The Z bend on the one that comes in the package is a little up for my likings. I'm going to take that and bend it. I'm going to bend it very delicately. I'm going to bend it down. Like I'm going to bend it down this way. I'm not going to do it with this one because I want you to see the difference between this one and the one I've got right here. This is the one that's I've already pre-bent, and you can see that it's bent down a little bit further. And what that does is it helps the bait sit straighter, and it gives the hook point a little bit more bite. Now I've probably bent it down, I'd say 5 degrees, 6 degrees, something like that. I bent that hook eye down, and it opens up the hook point, gives you a little more bite when you're fishing it, and I think that is the deal. Now Mike McClellan, I'm pretty sure he's caught more fish on this hybrid worm hook than I have. He leaves it just like it is. He thinks it's perfect just like it is. But the big deal for me is that your baits do not sit as straight. Like, I'm fishing a Texas rig. I want that worm to be perfectly straight. I want that worm to be perfectly straight. I want that, craw or whatever on the back to be straight. I don't want it to be all crooked. I want it to be straight. So that's one of the reasons I bend that down a little bit. That's my one tweak that I do to the hybrid worm hook, because it probably is the best bass fishing hook that you are not using. That's the hybrid worm hook, Gamakatsu G Finesse. They're not the cheapest hooks. Gamakatsu has never been known for being inexpensive, but you're not going to find a sharper hook, and that newer wire is harder to use. Plus, that nano coating is super smooth, super slick, and just gets really good hook penetration. So if you're looking for a good bass fishing hook to replace something that you might be using, check out that hybrid worm hook. That's a bad dude right there.